What is up, guys? For this video we're going to be seeing if oven cleaner can be used to clean off an old, greasy, dirty engine like this small block here behind me. So I went and grabbed two different kinds of oven cleaner from Walmart. Here's both the Great Value brand, but one's the standard heavy duty oven cleaner and the other one is the fume free one. So I did a little bit of research before going into doing this, and apparently people said that this is the better cleaner than that one, but this one is an entirely different chemical. I'm not sure. Both are heavy base cleaners, but I think this one isn't quite as strong, and it also has less warnings on the back of it, significantly less warnings on the back of it. There's the whole bottom portion of the can right there, whereas this one says it's an eye irritant, whereas this one says to keep out of reach of children, danger, contains sodium hydroxide, will burn skin and eyes. So this one's an irritant, this one will burn them. I'm going to be wearing gloves and safety glasses as I use these because I don't want to lose my hands or my eyeballs. So we're going to see whether the fume-free cleaner does as good of a job as the heavy duty, or at least does a good enough job to be good enough for cleaning an old dirty engine. Now basically this stuff is pretty nasty. This is about the strongest cleaner you can buy readily available at any regular store like a Walmart or something, and it's also one of the cheapest ones you can get your hands on. So here's my receipt. Each can was $2.74 a piece, and for 3 cans it was $8.82. Both the fume free and the heavy duty cost the same amount. That's pretty cheap. I believe a larger can of actual engine degreaser is about as much as I paid for these 3 here, and I'm going to be using it all on this old engine here. Now keep in mind, this engine doesn't have a lot of aluminum components on it, if any at all. I think the intake manifold is actually steel, top of the heads and block and everything. Even the water pump intake manifold, everything's pretty much steel on this engine. If left on aluminum for a short period of time, will damage a finish, and if left on for a long time, it can actually like pit and eat into the aluminum, so you have to be careful with the stuff. Also, this engine, the paint is completely shot on it, as you can see, and I don't care about the gaskets on it either. This engine's been in storage for probably a good 2 decades, so the paint is shot. It's already rusty, so I'm not concerned about it rusting after being cleaned and hosed off. Basically, I'm just trying to clean this thing the best that I can before tearing into it and freshening up some gaskets and going through the internals and cleaning it so I don't have a bunch of dirt falling inside of it. So I'm going to spray one half of the engine with the heavy duty cleaner and the other with the fume free, and we'll just kind of compare the sides. Alright, so here's what I found interesting. The standard oven cleaner says to apply it in a warm oven, about approximately 200 degrees I believe, and then of course you shut it off once it's reached 200 degrees and let it soak for 5 to 10 minutes. Now obviously we can't heat the engine up, so we'll just spray it and let it soak for about 10 minutes. This one says to spray it on a cold engine, or a cold oven, and let it soak for up to 2 hours. Now we're not going to be allowing it to soak for the whole 2 hours, so I'm just going to spray it and let it soak for 10 minutes and we will see what happens, but I don't think this is going to be very effective, and it wouldn't be very fair to say whether it does or doesn't work, but I don't think anybody wants to just spray their engine down and wait for 2 hours either, so we will see if it's able to work after, you know, soaking for as long as the heavy duty cleaner, which will be about 10 minutes. Also, before we go ahead and begin spraying it, first of all I'll mention that I do have pretty much every opening on this engine capped off with, you know, a sensor. I got manifolds on it, got an intake on it with a cover on it, which was just how it was stored. But here's a good look at all of the dirt and sludge, as you can see. I mean, and all that. This stuff is caked on hard too, as you can see right there from me digging into it pretty hard. But there's just dirt everywhere. Dirt all up here. This distributor's melted, by the way, so don't worry about that. This engine was on fire, so a little bit of melting on the HEI up there, or what used to be an HEI, now it's just garbage, but quite a bit of dirt here, as you can see. So let's a good look at it before we clean it, and go ahead and get to spraying it. Well, you can definitely tell which side had the non-fume and the standard heavy-duty cleaner, and you can actually see, I think it's from the wind, but you can see the standard heavy-duty cleaner is foaming very well, whereas the non-fume does not foam. Now it is cleaning stuff. I could see some of the dirt running into, it is foaming a little bit. I think it would just need more time probably to foam up like the heavy-duty cleaner did. But it's all soaked, both sides, and it's looking like the non-fume will actually do a little bit of cleaning at least, and the standard is definitely going to do a pretty good job by the looks of it. So we'll let this sit for about 10 minutes, and then we will come out and hose it off, see what the result is. Alright, it has been about 10 minutes, and maybe a little bit longer actually. We're going to go ahead and hose this thing off and see what it looks like after at least one round of oven cleaner. Okay, we have rinsed everything off, and I took an air wand and blew some of the water off of it, but both cleaners did a pretty good job. Now this engine's very rusty, and you can still see some grime down here. We got some back in there in some of these heavily oily areas. The non-fume oven cleaner seemed to do pretty well, and I noticed it didn't eat the paint off of this valve cover here, the marker paint, which is interesting, but it did clean a lot of the dirt off of the oil pan here. It cleaned all the crud and dirt off of the motor mount oil filter. It's clean. This area right here, not bad. It's still dirty, but not bad. But it did a pretty solid job of cleaning this engine off, which is good, because I'm assuming that the non-fume stuff is probably safer on more sensitive materials. I don't know if it's what all it would be safe for, but I would assume it's less harmful to that kind of stuff than the standard heavy-duty cleaner. That stuff also did pretty good job, as you can see there. Not much dirt there. And then on the oil pan, as you guys saw earlier, pretty clean. Now I didn't spray this area up here very well. Actually, that's all rust. So this engine, like I said, was in storage for a very long time, so there is a good amount of rust on this thing, which is probably why it still looks so dirty, but it's actually quite clean. I didn't use a wire brush or agitate anything either. This is just spraying it and soaking it and then hosing it off. That is it. No wire brush at all. So they both did very well. I am going to hang on to the non-fume stuff and use it to clean maybe the aluminum intake manifold I have for it. I'm going to do some research on it and see if I can use that on it. But it appears as though it's pretty safe for aluminum, but it will just damage finishes a little bit, make them kind of dull, which isn't a big deal because that intake manifold that I have, which is sitting in here, is pretty dull anyway, so it's not like it'd matter that much. But this is what we are talking about here as far as the intake manifold. May try it on these valve covers here, may even do it right now too, I'm not really sure. But I'm pretty happy with the results of both. Now, as I said, I don't really care too much about the gaskets or the paint on this engine, so I didn't worry too much about those as far as the damage the oven cleaner could have potentially done. And the engine was so dirty, I don't know what the condition of the paint on it was prior to using the oven cleaner. Now, if you care about your paint, care about your gaskets, don't use it. But in the case of this engine, the gaskets and seals and everything on it are bad. It's thing's been sitting for probably 20 years or more, and they all need to be replaced. I plan on replacing all of them before this engine is fired up and running in the old G-body here. So that's going to be the end of this video. I would call that a success. The non-fume cleaner did work, and if it is safer on this type of stuff, or if it can be used on pretty much anything, I would say go for it. If you need to cut through dirt and grease as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible, and you don't care about paint, seals, gaskets, anything like that, the standard oven cleaner is definitely a good buy, at least in the Great Value brand. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this short little video, and I'm going to end it here. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys later. And I think at the end of the video I'll give you guys another shot. I'm going to go do another quick cleaning on this, spray it down with the standard oven cleaner one more time, let it soak for another 10 minutes, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like after maybe wire brushing it a little bit with the oven cleaner on it, and give you guys just kind of satisfying final little clean job of the motor here at the end, and then we will be done. Alright, it is the next day, and here's the engine. I just gave it a second hit with the heavy duty cleaner and basically just used all the cleaner I had left, and it's still a little bit wet, but as you can see, very, very clean. It's a little bit dark in here, so I'll just show you guys this side. Pretty much the majority of the loose dirt, oil, and grease is removed, and this engine is going to be perfect to begin dismantling and not have a bunch of just junk start falling into it as I take it apart. And it'll also be easier to find and remove bolts because there's not a a giant layer of dirt and oil on them. That is going to be the actual end of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you guys have found the little tip with the oven cleaner helpful. Like I said, I wouldn't use this on an engine where you care particularly about the paint or the gaskets that are currently on it, but if it's an engine that's having a whole gasket set put in it and you don't care about the paint, it's definitely a good cheap option. You just don't want to let it sit on anything aluminum for too long, and you got to be careful of finishes. But for something like this old 305 here, which already had paint damage because it was on fire at one point, it was perfect, cheap way to clean the thing out. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.